up guys, Stu here. Long time no see everyone. I haven't done a review for like a month. Don't know how I let that happen. I have been seeing films. Gonna be a bunch of late-ish reviews popping up on my channel now because for whatever reason I didn't get a full review out when I saw them. And these are films which are, they're big films I want to talk about. So, first of those is the biggest release at the moment. DC's latest effort in its cinematic universe, which so far hasn't been going too well. And by hasn't been going too, I mean it's shit. I mean, Suicide Squad, just fuck off. But yeah, DC just slapped Wonder Woman onto our screens, which is kind of a big deal. So I guess we're going to talk about that shit. So Wonder Woman, for one of you that hasn't heard of it, is the latest addition to DC's cinematic universe. Following on from films like Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, this is the latest hero to get their standalone film. As part of that franchise is Wonder Woman, as the title suggests. Who saw that coming? What? And yeah, this is essentially her origin story. We saw her thrown into the mix in Batman v Superman, and everyone was like, hey, she was kind of cool. I want to see more of her. So yeah, we got more of her. I've learned not to get too excited about DC films because they tend to not be that good. I was very, very excited for Suicide Squad. I was sure it was going to be one of the best films of the year. It looked like it was going to be fantastic leading up to it. Then it turned out to be just complete AIDS in a tin. Which is not what I want from a film. So whilst everything that I'd seen about the film prior to release had been good and to get me a little bit excited, I took it all with a pinch of salt because I was very aware that DC had the ability of fucking things up a lot. But then early reviews came out and they were like, you know what? It's fantastic. This is a wicked film. And I was like, God, what? So my expectations were up again and I saw it. It was awesome. Yeah, this is a wicked film. Very, very happy with this one. It just feels so good to be stood here excited and passionate about a DC film at this point. Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, I actually enjoyed. So I'm not coming at this as someone that fucking hates everything that DC did. But those films did have a lot of problems in them. And so I wasn't like, yeah, fucking perfect film, 10 out of 10, love that shit. And I'm not by any means like that with Wonder Woman, but it has to be said, it's just nice to be stood here and about to talk so positively about a DC film. So without spoiling too much for you guys, even though this review's kind of late, so I imagine most of you have already seen the film at this point. It's basically a kind of origin story of the character of Wonder Woman. We see her at the beginning on her homeland of Themyscira, which is a little island, cut off from everything else, just female inhabitants. They're all fucking badass. They are just all badass. But for whatever reason, Chris Pine pops along. He's from the war, and he's like, yo, I mean, people are dying. It is not fun. So she joins him in the hope of basically saving mankind and stopping the war. But yeah, reprising her role as Wonder Woman is Gal Gadot here, and goodness gracious Ignatius. Okay, Gal Gadot she is just wonderful. Such a good character, such a good performance from her. I just can't see anyone else as Wonder Woman at that point, and as the best testament to someone going into a performance like this, she smashes it. But in terms of just the character in the context of the film and in the context of society in general at this point, she just smashes it as much as she needs to smash it here. She's fantastic. She kicks ass when she needs to kick ass. She is a badass. I have no problem believing that she would beat the shit out of everyone in a room. If I ever met Gal Gadot, I think I would be a little bit on edge that she might just beat the shit out of me. She nailed going from the very naive hero to a fully realised hero that's like, you know what? Shit sucks, I'm gonna be a good guy though. But also alongside her in the film is Chris Pine. I'm a big fan of Chris Pine. Whenever he pops up in a film, you just can't help but like the guy. He's one of those actors that's just inherently likeable, to the point where I feel like he could pop up in a film and be like this weird serial killer guy that we're all supposed to hate, and I'll be like, I know you're doing bad things, Chris Pine, I should hate you, but I want to go for a beer with this paedophile serial killer. Okay, maybe not quite likeable to that extent, but you know what I'm saying. He's a lot of fun here. I really enjoyed his chemistry with Gal Gadot, and it is vital that that chemistry worked in this film, and I do think it really, really did work. There's also a couple of other really cool performances thrown in there. Particularly for me was Ewan Brenner, who I just love seeing in anything. He does play Scottish person number one here, like the most textbook Scottish character ever. That might be a problem for some people. I just enjoy watching him in anything. He's a lot of fun, so that was good to see there. And that's where we get into the direction from Patty Jenkins. I'm so happy that Patty Jenkins delivered so well on the direction front here, because I was a little bit skeptical going into this one from the trailers that it might go a little bit too far into that very Zack Snyder-y, slow-mo, heavy, very stylized stuff that the DC Universe seems to have set up at this point. And I'm very happy that she kind of makes it her own thing, and it does feel like its own visual style here. I mean, it does include a lot of slow motion. There are a lot of stylized action sequences where people are just sort of like spinning around in the air, doing cool shots with bow and arrows. But it's never too much. It never crosses that line, which I think it does with some other Zack Snyder films, where you're like, okay, if you didn't have all of this slow motion, the film might be a 20-minute short. Now here it genuinely does complement the action scenes, and the shit they're doing is just cool anyway, so yeah, sign me up. But she brought something to the direction which I think a lot of DC films are missing, and I think is a very vital part of these superhero films, particularly with a character like Wonder Woman, and that is the heart of it all. Sounds like an incredibly cheesy thing to say, like, oh, this film had a heart, yay. But I don't give a shit, it does, and it works really, really well, and I think if it didn't have that element to it that Patty Jenkins clearly brings from the director's seat, I don't think it would have worked as well as it did. Because all the shit that's going on, all the superhero stuff that we're used to, it just takes on a whole life of its own when you have characters that you genuinely do care about, and when things are being said, things are being done that just, they make you feel. And it's just something I can't categorically say I've got from many of the DC films so far, and that is so refreshing. It is so welcome here. I love that side of things here. I cried in this film, guys. I cried. And I cry in pretty much 95% of films, guys. I know that. But I did not expect to be sitting here watching a DCEU film crying. So let that sink in. I mean, it hit me in the feels. Well done, Patty Jenkins. Well done. But visually, in terms of kind of shot composition and the cinematography of the thing, it also brings a lot more colour and vibrancy to the DCEU, which I think was much needed at this point. Just in the first act of this one, everything happening on Themyscira is beautiful to look at. The island is gorgeous. I really enjoyed all the warm colours there. It was just nice to see warm colours in a DCEU film. We didn't really get that in Batman v Superman, which isn't too much of a problem for me, but it is nice, and I do appreciate seeing pretty colours on film. Can't help it, that's just the way my eyes work. Lots of tasty shots in there, which made my eyeballs go, yeah, go on, let's have another one of those. At least the sequences like the No Man's Land sequence. Oh, that sequence was just stunning. Although admittedly did teeter on the edge of going a little bit over the top. And it's one of the things I think this film manages to steer clear of, but does get dangerously close to becoming. That is just, it does get very over the top and very full on in its cheesiness, although I don't like using the word cheesy. And in fact, Patty Jenkins has come out and said, yeah, it is cheesy. I don't give a shit. I think cheese is good. Some cheese is bad. It's probably an analogy here. Like, if you have the same cheese all the time, you're not going to like that cheese, but every now and then a cheese will come along that you haven't tasted before. You'd be like, it's still cheese, but I'm enjoying this cheese. This cheese is working for me. But here, there's something about the tone and the charm that Patty Jenkins is able to create with the film that means that the cheese and the over-the-top melodramatic stuff that's in there, it actually works. It gave me tingly goosebumps, so it nailed it on that front. That being said though, I do think the film suffers from quite a few flaws, which are kind of in a lot of other DC films and in a lot of superhero films nowadays. First of those for me is the final act of this film. I was still enjoying it, mainly because of the characters that had been built up through the film, which I genuinely did care about, but the flaws are still there. Mainly it just sort of does become this big kind of slapping each other around CGI fest. Some obvious sort of soundstage moments where you're like, okay, she's just stood in front of a green screen, but I'll buy it. She's still cool. She's doing a thing. But yeah, the third act felt like it went further towards the kind of generic DC superhero film stuff that we've seen before. And I don't necessarily think that's a huge problem because I actually enjoy that stuff, but it does feel a little bit at odds with the first two acts. Because the first act is wicked. The second act, the middle of this film, is fucking fantastic. I loved it. Loved the entire second act of this film. And then it gets to the third act, and I'm like, I'm enjoying it, but this is very CGI characters slapping each other around. It feels like the climax of a lot of DC films in that sense. And there are also a couple of plot elements, a couple of plot twists that are thrown in there, a couple of reveals in the final act, which, thinking back on it, they do work. I mean, in the context of the mythology of this universe, yeah, sure, have them in there. But the execution of them felt a little bit odd to me. Particularly there's one character who is revealed to be a kind of, I guess, red herring of sorts. And it sort of resolves that, and then suddenly there's another character that's just thrown in, revealed out of nowhere, and I just can't help but feel like it renders the previous 10 minutes, 15 minutes a little bit pointless. I was really kind of surprised and enjoying that side of the plot there. After this whole reveal comes, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually really interesting character stuff here. These are realizations which are genuinely, I can see it affecting this character. And then suddenly it's just like, nah, actually, no, this. But I still really, really fucking enjoy myself here. So regardless of the problems I do have with the film, this is a kick-ass film. It is an awesome film. It is the Wonder Woman film that I think we needed, and I think it's probably the best we could have got. I absolutely loved what Patty Jenkins did with the film here from a direction standpoint. I love the characters. I fucking love Gal Gadot. I am genuinely in love with her now, so Why did you have to do this to me, DC? Why? But yeah, if you want to kick ass time, if you enjoy superheroes and you want to see a genuinely well-realized female character on screen, which we just don't get enough of nowadays, Wonder Woman, I think you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and give Wonder Woman a very high 4 stars. Really, really pleasantly surprised with this one. DC have finally done it, and for that, I am forever grateful. Well done, DC. You smashed it. Maybe this will be a lesson from now on. Let other directors just do their thing with this one. It's made me very, very excited for James Wan's Aquaman. He's a director I love. Aquaman has the potential to be really fucking awesome. So surely now we've got good stuff coming from the DCU. But what about you guys? Have you seen Wonder Woman? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, whether you loved it, whether you hated it. As usual, if you like this review and you want to see me talk about more shit, go ahead and click subscribe. There are links for my social media in the description below. So if you want to see me tweet about shit, just click on one of those and then click the follow button. Nice and fun, nice and easy. Or don't. You don't have to do that. But until next time, stay beautiful, motherfuckers.